Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop, Getting to Know Graphic Novels, presented by Booklist. My name is Sarah Hunter, and I am the Graphic Novels and Books for Youth editor here at Booklist. We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Penguin Random House Library Marketing and Yen Press, for their generous support of this program. We will send out some additional resources and recommendations from our sponsor in tomorrow's follow-up materials, and we'll showcase some of those resources throughout the program. Before we begin with today's program, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to all of today's slide presentations were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. We will send PDFs of all these slides, along with additional materials from our sponsors, to everyone tomorrow. If you have any trouble locating materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable them on your screen, please look for and click the Show Captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of them at any time by selecting Caption Settings. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we encourage everyone to submit your questions in the Q&A box. Our panelists will be grabbing questions from this box throughout their presentation, and we'll be sure to pass along all unanswered questions to our panelists after the webinar so they can follow up via email. The chat box will also remain open throughout the entire program, and we will send the chat messages along with our follow-up materials to everyone tomorrow. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. We have an entire afternoon of workshops planned today, all designed to keep you up to speed on the ever-growing world of comics and manga, and how you can best use them to serve your patrons and community. You can see today's schedule on the screen. Please note that you are welcome to attend any and all of these sessions and will receive a recording of every session tomorrow. So, let's get started with our first workshop, Library World Meet Manga, presented by Joe Pascullo. Joe is a young adult librarian at the 53rd Street branch of the New York Public Library. He has chaired numerous committees with them, with Pop Culture Classroom and with the American Library Association, including this year's Best Graphic Novels for Adults Committee. He has also contributed reviews to School Library Journal and had the highlight of a lifetime last year in moderating 2 book clubs and 3 mangaka Q&A sessions for Kodansha's immersive pop-up in Lower Manhattan, the Kodansha House. Thanks so much for being here today, Joe. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you, everybody, for being here today. Happy to lead this off. We'll be doing a lot of screen sharing and hyperlink work, so forgive me if I'm a little clunky. Let me get that started, though. Hang on. Okay. All right. So everyone should be able to see my screen right here. So as I said, I'm the leadoff guy right here. So welcome to Booklist's Getting to Know Graphic Novels webinar. My portion of the show is titled Library World Meet Manga. So we're going to be talking about a number of different programs that you are able to implement in your library system, regardless of how big or small. We've all done programming before. We know programming is kind of imperfect. There are so many different things that can go wrong. It's kind of like a minesweeper game, so to speak. So these are not perfect solutions, but if I'm able to influence even one person and give some inspiration, I feel like I've done my job today. So I'm going to go over to the next slide. And I already got a little bit of an intro right here, but I'll just do one more right here. I have been a New York Public Librarian since 2014. I currently work at the 53rd Street branch in Midtown Manhattan. I'm a 4-time member of the Best Books for Teens committee here at the NYPL. So not only does that list encompass graphic novels and manga, it also encompasses teen fiction, teen nonfiction. Over the pandemic, I founded, because everyone needed things to do. We were so we had a lot of months at home, so I was lucky to get in touch with Reader Services, and they okayed me founding the Best Comics for Adults committee. I founded that with another librarian who is not in the system any longer, unfortunately. So she and I ran it for a couple of years before abdicating to let other people have a turn at running the committee. I am the current chair for the Best Comics for Adults committee at the American Library Association's Graphic Novel Comic Roundtable. I was the vice chair last year. I am the main chair this year. I sometimes will review manga for School Library Journal. At one point, Pop Culture Classroom had Excellence in Graphic Literature Awards. I contributed to that. And I've paneled at a lot of different conventions, mostly in the, actually, almost entirely in the Northeast right here. So New York Comic Con, Anime NYC, Liberty City. ShikariCon is in a small town in Pennsylvania. Anime Next was an old convention that was in Jersey. And like Sarah said, I was lucky enough to work the Kodansha House last year in October here in downtown Manhattan. So I would say, joining the New York Public Library, probably a top 5 decision for me, becoming a librarian, because it has enabled me to work with some people who I considered heroes, in my teens and in my 20s. And now I get to work with them and interview them. So it's been quite the journey. It's been quite amazing. So really happy to be here today to talk to everybody. And my contact information will be at the end of the presentation. So we're going to have a Q&A in a little bit. If I don't get to answer your question, please reach out to me. I love answering emails, so don't feel like you're bothering me. I'm really happy to do this, and I'm really, really happy to chat with everybody. So first slide right here. There's a couple things I definitely want you to keep in mind when it comes to programming and when it comes to selecting manga for your collection. First and foremost, keep in mind the age and demographic of your patrons. This goes for when you're selecting material. You don't want to get things that are too childish and try to recommend them to a teens, but you don't want to get things too graphic either. You really, really have to be careful when it comes to age and demographics. So a lot of these publishers, thankfully, they will provide age ratings. If you're on Edelweiss, there's a lot of recommendations there as well as for what to buy for your collection. Keep in mind your patrons' needs and their interests when it comes to programming. You don't want to think you have a great program idea and it's going to be amazing, and then you implement it, and then it's really not what your teens or your kids or your adults are looking for. It's not what they asked for. So I would definitely poll your patrons when it comes to needs and interests. Definitely survey them, listen to them. What do they want? And the same can be said when it comes to their needs and interests when it comes to reading. You don't want to. Libraries are on a shoestring budget. Everybody knows this. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of funding, and it's getting worse. You don't want to spend what little funding you have on manga and titles that they're just not that great, or they're just not what your patrons are into. You want to make sure the circulation is keeping up, and you want to make sure there's interest there. So I've got a couple of bullet points right here on the right. These are decent places to find good titles. First bullet point right here, the Graphic Library is one website, and No Flying, No Tights, that's actually run by Robin, who is going to be talking at 3 o'clock. But these websites are run by librarians for librarians, basically. So lots of great manga reviews on both of them, lots of good graphic novel reviews as well. So they are looked at through a librarian's lens. So they know, what teens are looking for, what adults are looking for, what makes a good book, what makes it worthy of being in your collection. So definitely, if you have not checked out those 2 respective sites, absolutely recommend doing so. School Library Journal, that's a publication that I contribute to, and Kirkus. These are other good publications where librarians are reviewers. Again, coming from the stance of a librarian, we understand that funding is not robust, and we want to make sure that the books that you're buying for your respective systems are going to circ and are going to be enjoyed by patrons. Have to stump a little bit for the New York Public Library right here. They put out their annual Best Books for Teens list, like I said, and their Best Comics for Adults list. Both of those are going to be hyperlinked in the slides right here. You're able to sort through the best fiction and nonfiction for teens. There's a little drop-down menu in the top right corner where you're able to toggle through the years. The Best Comics Committee, that list usually will come out around October for New York Comic Con, so you can look at the lists from prior years, but not the current one, as it's still being worked on. And Chicago Library does sort of the same thing. And their 2025, their lists are super organized. It's a really great website. All the comics are on one page, all the nonfiction, all the fiction as well. And then finally, I got to stump a little bit for the American Library Association. The Graphic Novel Comics Roundtable, we are forming our list right now for the best comics for adults. So again, you can look at the 2024 and previous years on the website. We are working on the 2025 version. However, for YALSA, their lists are already formed for 2025, and they're ready to be viewed. So you can look at the 2025 list through that link, and you can also look at years past as well. All right, going to our next slide. So definitely want to talk a little bit today about manga programming that I implement at my library. And one of the easiest things, or it seems like it could be easy, but it does have its challenges. All programming does, is to form a manga book club. And again, before you do anything, know your audience. You don't want to have a teen book club, but you're reading something super, super gory, or have something that's super young for a teen or an adult audience. You want to make sure they're going to enjoy the books first and foremost. We can like a book and we can recommend it, but we want to know what our audience is. That's really what it's all about. It's really all about the patrons. So please make sure you poll your patrons, poll your teens, survey your teens. You want to make sure the books are enjoyable. You want to make sure that they are attending the program. We want to develop a culture of reading, and we want to increase that circulation. Making sure you have enough books, that can be a challenge. So if you're going to use physical books, I think it's best to plan these programs out in advance, way in advance. So you're able to take advantage of your library's interlibrary loan system, requesting, different volumes, whatever the title may be, that are located across your system, to make sure you have them in time for the program. Not just in time for the program date, but to make sure that the program attendees are able to take out the books well in advance, have them read, and be prepared for the program. So another thing that I do at my Manga book club that I didn't put right here as a bullet point, I do take down email addresses. It's a good way to keep in touch with your regular participants and to let them know what the next book is going to be, what the date is going to be, and that they can come to the library to pick up the titles when they are available. And know who will be the program's moderator. Now, if it's going to be you as the librarian, that's totally fine. But if you want to sometimes incorporate a teenager to have like guest moderator, one month this teenager runs the club, another month this teenager will run the club. So just definitely know who the program's moderator is going to be. If they're going to prepare questions, you want to make sure you have those in advance. You want to make sure they are signed off on. You don't want any surprises the day of the program. So just best to be prepared. And this is where digital platforms are super helpful when it comes to manga book clubs. So if anybody is using Hoopla or Comics Plus, that's a really useful way. Patrons can check out books and not have to worry about a limit. 1 million patrons can check out the same book on Hoopla. Same with Comics Plus; it doesn't count against your library cards checkouts. Overdrive is something we use here at the New York Public Library, and that can be it can be okay. There's a limit on books right there. So say, One Piece Volume 1, there's only 5 copies. Only 5 people across the entire system, let alone your book club, are able to check out those books. If you have a branch library card and you feel comfortable giving, or rather a book club library card, and you feel comfortable giving that information out to teens, they can all log in on their own devices to read the title, check it out under that particular account. It's really up to you. But those are just some things I recommend keeping in mind when you're forming a manga book club. I definitely want to talk about this one particular program that was New York Public Library centric. We did something in March titled the Manga March Madness Program. Now, while this was teen focused, we did allow patrons of all ages to participate. So not only kids, teens, and adults, not only teens rather, but kids and adults were able to participate. So the object was to teach teens primarily about voting. So like I said, it was teen focused, but we allowed anybody to participate. It was not just one branch, a number of branches across the system. They set up and decorated voting stations, decorated them. I'm going to show you some pictures coming up, and I'll show you some photos of how we did it in 2024 and 2025. In 2024, we decided on 8 genres, kind of like a March Madness bracket with the basketball tournament. There was 4 titles per genre on the ballot. That was something that us as the chairs, we decided. We included a write-in option. I'll show you the photos, like I said, in a moment. 2025, we did something with ranked choice, and you got to make sure the titles are available in the collection. Otherwise, it's not as much fun. All right, so this is kind of what our ballot looked like in 2024. Action adventure, romance, challenged books, and sports. So you see we had 4 titles. Patrons were only allowed to vote for 1. If they didn't like one of the choices, A, B, C, or D, they were able to do a write-in vote. Like I said, the titles, we were pretty strict on them. We deliberated pretty heavily, so we wanted to keep them as such. Other categories included boys love, girls love, horror and dystopian titles, and manga titans, and that's just kind of like big titles that pushed a lot of volumes. We also did comedy, isekai, coming of age, and sci-fi fantasy. So for the entire month of March, we allowed teens to vote, and at the end we tallied them up. And the winners, we didn't quite make the winners go head to head against other winners. It was just sort of whoever won the comedy bracket won the comedy bracket. Whoever won the Manga Titans bracket won the Manga Titans bracket. But it's just a fun activity to do in the month of March. Now, in 2025 here, we're doing something a little different when it comes to voting for the mayor of New York City. We have unveiled ranked choice voting. Obviously, this is something not only teens are learning about for the first time, but I think a lot of adults. I don't quite remember anything with ranked choice in my lifetime, so I definitely learned a lot with this. We didn't go title head to head in this case. We set up a thing to determine who the best mayor anime manga character, who would be the best mayor of New York City. So you can see we have our characters right here. We've got Anya, we've got Ash, we've got Coco, Freerin, Goku, Monkey, Sailor Moon, Mob from Mob Psycho 100, Shoko from A Silent Voice, Tanjiro, and then there was a write-in option right there. We did have character bios that came from the voices of the characters, so that was a pretty fun thing to do as well, and to kind of push teens to read their bios, decide who would the best character, which character would be best for the mayor of New York. And on the back of the ballots, we had this little handy guide right here that came from the Vote NYC website, and it taught teens how to use ranked voting, and it really taught them, though, like the goal of the whole process was to sort of show them that their vote counts and that their vote could sway the election, so to speak, one way or another. And I think that's a good message to teach teens. I think there seems to be a lot of messages out there that your vote may count, but it doesn't matter. And that's something that we wanted to show teens that it's not true with this particular initiative right here. So again, it's just kind of a fun activity to do in March. And I hope you enjoyed. And if you have any questions at the end, please do email me or please ask. I'd love to answer them. And here are some funny images from branches across the system, so you can see how we sort of tapped into our creative sides when it came to decorating ballot boxes or trifolds or just fun displays. And I think teens really got a kick out of it, and it was successful. 2024 was a successful year, and then 2025 was even more so. We got more branches to participate. We got more votes from different teens, and I think the library system kind of caught wind of that and helped us with promotion. So again, just another option when it comes to programming. All right, so this was, I will admit here, this was the most difficult slide to do because I feel like when it comes to screening anime in libraries, there is just so much gray area. It is quite imperfect. So I will be the first one to admit I am not an expert when it comes to all the legalities and all of the copyright laws when it comes to anime programming. I'm not recommending anybody do anything illegal. I'm not recommending piracy by any stretch. But there are a lot of copyright and licensing restrictions when it comes to screening anime in your library. So again, before you do anything, I definitely want you to know your audience. You don't want to be screening things that are inappropriate and that can cause an uproar when it comes to parents. Know what they want to watch, what they are interested in. Talk to your teens, talk to your patrons, survey them. It helps you out. But also be mindful of your library system's restrictions when it comes to streaming shows and films. It's not quite as easy as just putting on a film and that is the end. The program is passive, it's underway. There are a lot of legalities behind it. And I feel like, everyone's a lawyer until they actually step foot in the courtroom, I like to say. So it's tough. If you don't know what your library system's restrictions are, I would definitely shoot that up the chain and ask. We don't want you to get in trouble just for screening anime for your patrons. Where can you find anime? Well, there are paid options. Crunchyroll at one time did have a library outreach program. I think a lot of you probably know this. A lot of us are probably lamenting the fact that it is no longer in existence. It was truly the best. Crunchyroll has kind of become a bit of a monopoly when it's come to anime streaming. It's absorbed Funimation. It's absorbed Right and Fun stuff. So a lot of stuff is on Crunchyroll, and unfortunately, we don't have that option any longer as librarians to use it to stream programming. Netflix, High Dive, these are also paid options, but there are a couple of free ones here. I'm going to just pull up a couple of links. If anyone has ever gone on Tubi, I'm going to share this tab right here. Tubi is free, and it does have a pretty stout library. These are some pretty heavy hitters right here when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Naruto, Pokemon, Ghost in the Shell. But again, check with your library system before using this. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. And again, I am far from an expert when it comes to anything with the law. Going back to my other slide. Oh, I think I might have killed the whole thing. Give me 1 second. Okay. There's also this other option right here called Pluto. Yeah, Pluto.tv. It is another free option. It doesn't have as much anime. It's more, I think, live TV. You can see Lara Croft is playing right here. Not going to spend a whole ton of time on it, but just know that it is a free streaming service and there is anime on there as well. We'll skip Retro Crush for a moment. Canopy is, I think a lot of us probably know Canopy. Canopy has a lot of art house. It is basically a library resource made for libraries. There are a couple of Hayao Miyazaki documentaries on there. The anime selection isn't wonderful, but again, this is an option. It is something you can access if your library system doesn't have it. Other library systems do, and you probably can sign up for a digital card in order to use their resources. So Canopy is out there. Retro Crush, I'm not sure if anybody has ever used Retro Crush. I remember when Retro Crush first came out. It is a YouTube channel that has, you can see right here, it's a channel dedicated to the golden age of anime. A lot of stuff from the 80s and 90s. And again, they are full episodes. They do upload them within weeks. Even these right here, this was uploaded. Oh, that's a podcast, but this is a full episode 11 days ago, so not even 2 weeks. So the library is constantly being updated. There are licenses constantly being announced on Anime News Network. So again, it is another option if you don't want to pay. It is a YouTube channel, and I feel like there is more wiggle room when it comes to showing things that are on YouTube in library systems. I could be wrong about that, but again, not the best, not the biggest expert when it comes to anime programming. There's just so many legalities, and library systems are different from all across the country. So definitely check with your higher ups before doing anything. And the very last one I want to show you on the slides is Remo. So Remo is interesting. I did dedicate an entire slide to it right here. For those of you who haven't heard of it, that's okay. Remo is a global entertainment company that distributes and produces anime. They do have a YouTube channel, and it is called It's Anime. It does upload new titles and episodes on a weekly basis. And again, these are not like the Retro Crush shows, which are from the 80s and 90s. These are things that are coming out during current anime seasons. It also has a channel on Samsung TVs, so you are able to access them if you have a Samsung TV in your teen zone, or if you have a smart device that you want to hook up to a TV, you can do so. And the channel is going to expand to other TVs and streaming services over the next calendar year. I specifically wanted to highlight this one because the marketing woman right here, Jen, she is New York based. She has tabled at our library before. She is incredibly personable. When she heard I was doing this, she thought this would be a good opportunity to tell librarians who may not be in the know when it comes to Remo that it is out there. It does exist. She wanted me to share her information right here. So again, very personable person, very big supporter when it comes to libraries. I definitely encourage people to reach out to her. She is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful contact. And again, do not be afraid to email her. She's very, very kind. And I'll show you her the Remo channel right here. I'm going to share the tab. It's Anime is what the YouTube channel is called. And again, these are more recent-ish shows. Kuroko Basketball, not so much. But again, this is a newish show right here, Togan Anki. So yeah, definitely worth sifting. So if you can't afford Crunchyroll and you want to watch something without advertisements, perhaps consider YouTube. That is another option right there. All right. So there's a lot of other programming ideas that you can do that don't involve either manga or anime. Before we get to the biggest one, and the biggest one is how to create or how to implement a anime convention at your library. I've done that a couple times here. I'm going to show you, at least tell you some of my tips. But manga anime programs, they're a really great gateway when it comes to other potential types of library programming in regards to Japan. I think I first got into manga years and years ago. And over time, I've become more interested in Japan as a country, Japan as a culture. So it's a really good way to introduce teens, I think. Maybe teens aren't so much into this stuff yet, but there's a good chance that they will be. And manga and anime is a good gateway to that. So there's language learning, there is culture programs, art programs, and cooking. I'm not going to have anything rather when it comes to cooking, because here at the New York Public Library, they are super strict when it comes to food and allergies and the potential for getting burned. However, I have heard other library systems that do implement cooking programs, so more power to them. Unfortunately, I've never done one here. if you can do a cooking program, then awesome. I'm totally jealous, but I don't have much in the way since I'm not allowed to do that here. Also, art programs, I don't have a lot about. I have a little bit, not a whole ton, because I'm a terrible artist. That's definitely not my strong suit. There's other YA people on staff who are wonderful artists, and I will leave that to them. Unfortunately, that's just not my calling card, unfortunately. But we do a language learning program here at the 53rd Street Library called Japanese 101 for Teens. We do it biannually, so it's 10 weeks starting in January, 10 weeks starting in July. So we're in the middle of our second Japanese 101 of the year right now. This is the syllabus that we've put together. We don't want to overload teens. It's just sort of an introduction to the Japanese language, where they will learn to read hiragana. They will learn to put together simple sentences. They'll learn their first vocabulary words. If anyone has learned Japanese in the past, I'm sure some people in this group have. Verbs can be a whole, rigmarole. And then week 10 is just kind of a final review where we'll break out some Japanese snacks and we'll, maybe talk a little bit about Japan itself and what it's like going there, and generally just have a party. So it's more like it's 9 weeks, but we round it out to 10. So if you don't know Japanese right now, there are a lot of great resources out there. Not only learn it as the librarian implementing a program, but to supplement Japanese language learning. This is stuff that we always tell the teens. Once the 10 weeks are over, I'll usually show off some of these websites. The first one I want to show today is called Manga Languages. I'm going to click on Manga. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong slide. Manga Languages. So Manga Languages is a database here at the New York Public Library. So being a New York Public Library worker, I can say you are entitled to getting a digital library card with us. Just click on Get a Library Card here at the top, no matter where you are in the country, and you will have access to the database. Won't give you digital library cards. Don't give patrons full access to everything the NYPL offers, but it does entitle you guys to use our databases. So definitely, I will stump for Manga Languages right here. Give it a moment to load. Hope you all enjoying this. I feel like I don't talk that much, and I'm doing so much talking right here. This is very unusual. So, but here is Manga Languages through the New York Public Library. You can create an account to keep track of your progress, and I usually encourage teens to do that with their library cards. But for today, I'm just going to use Mango as a guest. And it's not just Japanese. There's tons of languages here. So if you haven't used this in your library systems, it's definitely a great one to perhaps talk about, and definitely one to include on your class visits. So I'm going to click on Japanese right here. And it organizes it nicely by different chapters and different units. So obviously the stuff that's in the early chapters, those are the introductory, bits of the Japanese language. And as you progress, it gets more challenging. So even if you just wanted to use Manga Languages yourself in order to teach a class or do a program at your library, you can do that. And it's nice because it actually uses native speakers. It uses the microphones on your computers to make sure that you're pronouncing the words correctly before allowing you to progress. So yeah, Manga Languages, definitely a fan.
Joe, could you reshare your screen? We couldn't see the Oh, here, it's showing
now.
now.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, my fault.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So yes, that is my bad. Let me start over.
No, all good. Thank you. Everyone was very interested in seeing it.
Sorry, everybody. I'm very clunky here. Like I said, I don't talk that much, so I'm not in my elements here. All right. So you guys are able to see this right here. Access database.
Yes, we can see.
There we go. This is what we wanted to show. So I did select Japanese. There is a long list of languages. Apologies, everybody, for that. But yeah, like I said, chapters. It's broken down into chapters. You can see chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's broken down into units. So again, if you wanted to just use each unit as a library program to teach your teens the basics of Japanese, you're able to do that. And again, New York Public Library digital card will access this to you, for you rather. And if you have any questions, again, email me. I am here to help you guys out. I'm like flattered to be doing this for Book List, so I want to be of service to you guys. Definitely reach out to me, please. All right, let's go. Let's get our sharing. Do a better job sharing right here. All right, Tofugu. Tofugu is fantastic. If you guys have not used this website, I can't recommend it enough when it comes to hiragana and katakana learning. There are just so many resources and so many like practice sheets and practice games. The Tofugu Learn Kana quiz tool is amazing. Let's see if I have time to pull it up really super fast. Yeah. How do we get to it? Here it is, Kana quiz. So you can practice your hiragana And you can sort right here if you just want to do the main kana, and you can start the quiz. This is the hiragana for K. So when you put it in correctly, it turns green. This is the hiragana for Ru. But if I was to get it incorrect, say I'm going to put something in that's totally wrong, turns red. So again, fun little website. Definitely something to work on with your teens. So yeah, love Tofugu very much. I'm going to go over back to my other tab right here. Wanikani. Wanikani is a little complex when it comes to teenagers. This is more for kanji. We don't do kanji in our Japanese 101 because it is complex. It's complex for me as an adult. And again, we're not trying to overwhelm the teens when it comes to Japanese 101. We definitely are very upfront that you're not going to become fluent just taking these 10 classes. We just want to whet your appetite, and then we want to show you other ways to supplement your Japanese learning language on your own. Language learning on your own. So yeah, this is a good way to learn kanji. Wanikani. It is powered by Tofugu right down here at the bottom. Jisho.org. This is Jisho is the word for dictionary. So basically, any word you think of, you can get the Japanese equivalent right here. So library is Toshokan. So simple website, but definitely useful. And then, oh, we got an announcement in the library. Hold on.
Will be closed at 3 p.m. for their daily cleaning. Once again, the central level restrooms will be closed at 3 p.m. for their daily cleaning. Thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, we close the library. We close the bathrooms every day at 3 o'clock, and then they get cleaned. And then there's this loud announcement, and of course it had to happen right during the presentation. So sorry about that, guys. Last one I want to show you is Lexilogos. So Lexilogos is a multilingual keyboard program. It has the different Japanese characters right here: hiragana, katakana. Super useful. So if I want to write my name in katakana, you just type it in, and I can type in book list, or that's a little clunky right there. Maybe not book list, but yeah, useful. Has Japanese keyboards right here, and I enjoy showing this one off, and teens do get a kick out of it. All right, so going back to the presentation, no, we've only got a few minutes left. I definitely want to show off the convention. This is actually going well. I'm having a lot of fun here. Japanese program when it comes to travel and culture. Definitely recommend using Tuttle Publishing. Tuttle Publishing is an industry leader when it comes to Japanese books for many decades now. I would definitely encourage library workers to check out their extensive catalog found at this link. So let me share this really quick. They have so many books about Japan. It is unbelievable. I do like right here on the left how you're able to sort through different topics. Oops, sorry about that. And if you are looking for how to draw manga, again, like I said, I'm not great when it comes to art, but maybe one of these books is a good way to introduce that programming to your library. Other things when it comes to art, lots of origami books. So if you're looking to do origami programs, Tuttle has tons and tons of kits. Might be worth, spending some of your funds on them. It looks like there's a lot you're able to do, especially when it comes to beginners. So yeah, I recommend looking at Tuttle Publishing. They have books on cooking. They have books on gaming. They have a lot of books when it comes to just Japanese travel in general. So if you wanted to do a travel program and show off different regions of the country, some of these books can definitely help you out. So yeah, Tuttle is a fantastic publisher. Love them very much. And I think the very last thing I want to show you guys is how having an anime convention at your library, because what could be better? It's so much fun. I will admit, my library, as you heard, we had a big booming announcement right here. We are a 3-floor library. We're right across the street from the Museum of Modern Art. So we are one of the bigger library branches in the system, for worse or for better. But one of the boons is that we get to have a big anime convention, and we have lots of different areas where we can have activity. So over here on the left, that's one half of the community room. We're having a panel, I believe, in that picture. Right here on the right, that is the kind of the artist alley and our theater area right there. Our teen zone is right there where we had some gaming. That is the community room when the partition has been opened up, because we had a manga demonstration, and it was so packed, and it was towards the end of the day. We just said, all right, the hell with it, let's break down the partition so everybody can spread out across the entire community room. And here's our theater area where we did have a film shown, and there was a little bit of a panel right before it. So what were the components of our anime conventions here at the 53rd Street Library? We did have some tabling organizations. We had an artist alley, panels, art demos, gaming, film screening, and food and giveaways. So I'm going to go through each one of these one by one. I know I'm a little short on time, but hopefully I can provide some advice. And am rushing and I don't get to your questions, please email me. I definitely want to help you guys out the best I can. I'd be happy to meet with you to discuss this in more detail. All right, so tabling organizations and our artist alley. So the tabling organizations that we had, we did have JNTO, which is a Japanese national tourism organization. I believe that's what that stands for. While they weren't able to be there in person, here's their website. You can make a JNTO table and request brochures when it comes to different Japanese travel locations. So I'll just kind of click on that really fast. Yeah, not only can you request physical brochures, which is what we did here at the library, but you can download a lot of digital brochures as well. So I don't know how your printing is or your ink situation, but you can just create brochures if you want to and kind of put them at a faux JNTO table. So it's just an option, something that we did at our library, and I feel like it was pretty successful. Moving over, Arts Connection is a nonprofit art theater, I guess, organization. That's the best way to describe it here in New York City. So not necessarily anime, but it does have to do with the arts. So they were there at our at our conventions. Remo, like I spoke about earlier, the woman is New York based. She was wonderful. She did table to tell teens and other attendees about the different things that are going to be coming to the It's Anime YouTube channel. We did have Anime NYC table, so I know that that's really specific to my library system in my city. If you do have any conventions, though, that are in your respective cities and states, and they are able to travel to your little library convention to table, definitely reach out to them. You know, they want to get the word out about their convention too. It is a win-win. So I definitely recommend looking into that and trying to find different conventions that are happening in your area and see if anyone's willing to promote them. And again, we had the Japan Society, which is a Japanese museum that is not terribly far from the United Nations here in New York City. So if you have any Japanese-centric, organizations in your cities, reach out to them. See if they want a table. They're getting something out of it as well. Our artist alley was comprised entirely of high school artists who make their own stuff. So while they had their things on their respective tables, they were not allowed to sell, obviously, in the library. We don't want cash transactions like that. However, a workaround that we did was we allowed them to have a QR code. We printed them out. They were able to tape them down to their tables. So folks were able to scan the QR code and see their stuff on their website. So we definitely encourage the artists to bring stuff so people can, see it in real life right in front of them rather than looking at it on a phone or a computer screen. And they could buy it on their own time if they want to. Obviously, we're not pushing that one way or another. It was just an option to try and entice the artists to, kind of comprise of our artist alley. All right, moving on to panels and art demonstrations. So panels, variety of different topics. We did have industry panels. So we did have Square Enix do something. Yen Press, I think another year, did a panel talking about some of the manga. They did some manga recommendations. I have to say, if you guys have not been in touch with marketing folks from different manga publishers, they are like the most friendly people in the world. They are so supportive when it comes to library systems, big and small. They really know the value of libraries when it comes to reading and developing that culture early when it comes to teens. So I would encourage you to reach out to them. If they could do the panel virtually, why not? They're very friendly people. So don't be afraid to reach out to different manga publishers. A lot of them do have marketing folks that deal specifically when it comes to libraries. Anime recommendations, manga history, trivia. A lot of these were kind of put together by different libraries in the New York Public Library, librarians rather, in the New York Public Library system. So definitely reach out to your colleagues. There's definitely manga fans out there. If you're not the biggest anime manga expert, that's okay. There's probably somebody in the library system that would be willing to come to your convention to do a panel or do it virtually even. So those were some of the panels that we had. When it came to art demonstrations, one year we had a DOE teacher, and he was fantastic. He put on a whole day of how to draw manga. We also had Gigi Murakami come this year. She has a one-shot at Viz Media. Very, very, kind of her to lend her time. But obviously, if you don't have that sort of option in your respective city, I would definitely encourage reaching out to teens. Teens are always looking for volunteer hours. Teens like to draw. A lot of them are already into manga drawing. If they want to lead the art demonstration portion of your convention, I would definitely think about that. They want to be involved. So there's always volunteer hours to be had. almost done, I promise. Gaming tips, I definitely recommend having a gaming area. That is always a big draw. Have a staff member monitor it. In fact, make sure your entire library staff is on board when it comes to your anime convention. There's definitely a lot of extra noise that won't be there ordinarily. So you definitely want to have a staff member watch your consoles. You don't want them to go missing. I definitely encourage as well to not only have tournaments and multiplayer games throughout the day, but maybe also like some drop-in gaming hours for maybe the casual gamer that doesn't really want to get too hot and heavy when it comes to a fighter or something like that. And then when it comes to film screenings, that's something we did at the very end of our anime convention. It was after the library closed. Get permission first. Make sure you're not screening something that you don't actually have permission to do so. We also had food at this portion, this part of our convention. Be mindful when it comes to allergies. I don't have to tell you guys this, you're librarians. You don't want to kill one of your teens, or anything like that. So definitely be mindful of allergies people could have. I wouldn't recommend chips or anything like that. Individually wrapped things are the way to go when it comes to candy and other snacks that people may be grabbing and in a snack bowl or something like that. And how did I tie everything together when it came to my anime convention to make sure one area wasn't too robust and another area wasn't getting any attention at all? I did create this stamp rally sheet right here. So these were given out at the very beginning for people who came in to make sure everybody was visiting each and every station that the library had set up. It encouraged people to go to the panels to make sure that people weren't talking to air. It made sure, same could be said with the manga demonstration. In addition to some of the people at the artist alley, those are their hyperlinks at the bottom. So recommend this. I think it's called Stamp Rally or Scavenger Hunt. I think there's a couple ways to describe this. I described it as a stamp rally. But yeah, that's a good way to make sure everybody at your anime convention that is volunteering their time is not having their time wasted, and people are actually coming up to them to chat. And man, I've been doing so much chatting. I am ready for you guys to chat a little bit. I made this Q&A right here because they can be kind of scary sometimes. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen and maybe look at the chat finally. My goodness, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let's see what we've got in the chat right here. I've got so much. How long? Okay, I'm going to go from the bottom right here, unless Sarah wants to elevate any of the questions. But again, I will put my email up at the bottom. So reach out to me. I can't wait to chat to some of you. How long did it take to organize everything for the convention? Is something Kivank asked. Months and months, because there are so many different people you have to contact. There's so many different permissions you have to get. You have to run a lot of stuff by your branch manager and the rest of the staff, just to make sure they're on board. It took a very long time. So it's definitely not something you can put together overnight. I see someone here, our convention takes a year to plan. I totally believe it. What are, okay. Oh my God, they're going so quick right here. I lost it. For a manga book club, do you typically read just one volume of a series or several? Yeah, so I will usually focus on a volume one and then move on to another title the following month. Again, our manga book club is once a month. And again, if you're going to be the person running it, you can pick the titles. So that's really up to you if you want to do volume one month, volume two another. I like to let the teens pick sometimes, so it's usually not the same. The teens pick different books. So it's usually a volume one, and then we move on to another title. All right. What are some mangas you'd recommend for ages 14 through 17? Oh, man, I'm so glad you asked that. So Blue Lock. Blue Lock is so much fun. If you haven't read Blue Lock, and I'm sure a lot of you have, it's this really fun shonen soccer manga that is just fantastic. I am a huge fan of Blue Lock. I wish there was a little bit more Blue Lock stuff at the Kodansha house last year. I could totally see like a big soccer net and having people try to kick the soccer ball. I think that would have been a fun activity. So definitely Blue Lock. I really love, I love sports manga in general. So if you haven't read Yawamushi Pedal is a fun bicycle race manga. And maybe one of the lesser known manga, but it was definitely one of my gateway ones, was Cross Game. Cross Game is a really great baseball manga that not only deals with baseball, but it also deals with coming of age and teens dealing with real life problems. So two of my favorite things that they sort of mix together. So Cross Game is a fantastic title. I feel like I'm under the gun right here. So definitely email me and I will send more titles when I'm not seeing this chat, which is keep on going right here. Let's see. I love this. All right. So Sarah sent a question. Oh my God, the chat is going so quick. So Kaylee Richardson said, her teens sometimes struggle to talk to each other about manga and is wondering how to encourage them to talk more. So that's a good question. One thing that I like to do, if I see a teen that is not really, doesn't seem like they're fitting in, or they're a little shy, rather, that's a better way of putting it, I will go up and talk to them, and I'll try to make them feel a little more comfortable. And, hey, I like your hobby too. That sort of opens them up a little bit, and, maybe makes them a little bit more comfortable when it comes to talking to other teens. So I would always encourage librarians to go and talk to the teens themselves. That usually is a good icebreaker. Yeah. All right. Did you have any difficulty or pushback from system admin about any programming anime conventions? No, not really. And that's from Megan Gonzalez. And thank you all so much for the questions. This is such a thrill to have so many people in this right here. So please email me. I will put my email up at the end, and I look forward to hearing from a lot of you. No, actually, a lot of people are really supportive when it comes to anime programming, especially the conventions. The conventions is a great thing for, I guess, our quarterly report. It looks really fun when you turn the library into an anime convention, and there's so many teens that are participating at different stations all across the library. So no, I actually have had pretty good luck. I have a really good branch manager who is very supportive and very understanding and just kind of is with it. So I personally haven't had a lot of difficulty, but yeah, I could see where that maybe can happen in other library systems. Definitely would love to talk about it. Do I allow cosplay for the convention? Absolutely, I do. Yeah, that's actually one of the more fun things. Some of these different organizations, be it either Anime NYC or the Japan Society, they would bring giveaways, and we would have a cosplay contest before the film. So that is definitely something that we encourage, and it's so much fun. It's definitely makes the library livelier than usual. As far as guidelines for what attendees could wear, not really. No, it's not something we really implemented. They were pretty tame for the most part. It wasn't. We didn't come across anything, ultra inappropriate. Nobody brought any weapons. So while we didn't put any guidelines in place, luckily we haven't really run into a lot of trouble either. So no, it's a good question though. Let's see. I know most manga comes from Japan. Do you know of any up-and-coming or prominent manga authors here in the U.S.? Yeah, I'll definitely put Gigi Murakami's name in here. Again, she is New York-based. I've been on panels with her. She's fantastic. Yeah, she is such a talent, and she does have a one-shot published by Viz. So definitely recommend checking her out. So if I had to recommend somebody, it would definitely be Gigi. Right, I know it is 2:47 here. I'm gonna randomly scroll up right here to see if anything earlier in the presentation that I missed. Someone wrote right here, Anime Next. That's a blast from the past. Heck yeah, it was. I love that convention, and it's not around anymore. It's bumming me out. Thank you for the compliments on the voting system and the ranked choice. Yeah, again, that was a big deal. It's a big deal to teach teens about voting, especially in this day and age, and that their vote does count. I think, like I said, I think there is narrative nowadays that, voting doesn't matter, whatever. Some people's votes count more than others. And it's good to tell them that that's not true. You can influence an election. So yeah. Stamp rallies. Yeah, I think I covered a lot of the questions. I'm definitely coming down from the high of presenting here, so I might be missing some of them. So yeah, let me put up my slides one more time with my email, since I'm basically just about out of time anyway. This was so much fun. So I first want to thank everybody for coming and listening to me talk. Again, I'm not the biggest talker in the world, so I had a blast doing this. I want to thank Booklist for allowing it. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. This was so much fun. I can be reached. My email right there, Joseph Pascullo at nypl.org. So no dots, no hyphens, nothing like that. Just Joseph, my last name, at nypl.org. Please reach out. I had such a fun time doing this. I'm smiling ear to ear. So thank you, everybody, for listening to me talk a little bit about programming. I know programming is kind of an imperfect art here at the libraries, but it is important. So hopefully I was able to give you some ideas. And if I did miss any questions and you have something you want to ask me, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah. So thank you all so much. I really had a blast. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was fantastic. We'll now take a little break before our next workshop, Comics Discovery, which will begin in a few minutes. While you wait, please enjoy these resources and recommendations from our sponsors, Penguin Random House Library Marketing and Yen Press.